Hey everyone, I'm just gonna wait until people start coming. Atara, Goldie, J Party, Not So Single Life is on. Daniella just requests to join. Are we live together, Daniella?
Hello.
Yay! Hi, Daniella.
This works.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So excited. Okay, everyone, I want to quickly introduce Daniella. I have been dying to have her on a live since we started doing lives because I think she's one of my favorite bloggers in the entire world. She's just
No pressure.
Sorry, am I not supposed to say this in front of your face? Okay, behind your back.
Totally
Plug
can.
your ears.
You totally can.
But anyways, I'm very into authenticity and real people, and Daniella is the real deal. She's one of the most authentic people, and I really am very excited to have her with us. And just before she tells you a little bit about her background, I just wanted to mention that neither of us are mental health professionals. And so hopefully one of our friends that are in that world will join, and we can always, if you have any specific mental health related questions, either they can pop in. I'm sure Rachel Tuckman usually joins at some point during the live, or
I love that woman.
No, me too.
She's a goodie.
Yeah, or or maybe Erica Klein will show up. We have a few of our regulars. So if there's anything specific mental health related, so we're going to kind of defer to the professionals. But this is really going to be about Daniella sharing, the real, not so single truths about life and the dumb things people say, those kinds of things.
There's no shortage of that.
Right. But, just kind of like, let's get sensitive about, everyone's going through something, and we're going to really try to work on sensitivity during, that family time holidays. So Daniella, do you think you can, kind of give everybody a little bit of a background for anyone who doesn't know you? If you don't follow her blog, you should.
Great plug. So as you said, I'm Daniella English. I have a blog called The Not So Single Life, which I started about 3 years ago, about divorce, dating, all that, just making it through the day with kids, all that kind of stuff. I started the blog actually just as a way to boost my resume for school. Not so inspiring, actually, but very honest. And I realized I touched on something a lot bigger, and it's been quite a journey so far, I must say. Brought me here, so that's pretty cool.
For sure. I love your real parenting kind of, it makes everyone kind of feel real and normal.
You know what? I've done the inauthentic version of parenting, and it's really exhausting. Like, it's really tiring, and like parenting is exhausting to begin with, and just doing it from a place of inauthenticity. Is that a word? I think it's a word. We're going to make it a word. It's just so tiring, because then it's like you're fighting your kids, and you're fighting, what society thinks you should be as a parent. And then it's like the two of them together, it's just too much. So I'm like, one of these has got to go. And since I can't drop my kids at the fire station, it really had to be, the inauthenticity of it all.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe can you, so actually what inspired this live was you had a post, like maybe it was one of your earlier posts, that was the not so single truths, about like, it was like something about, like it was a quote of something like dumb that somebody said to you.
Yes. So it was one of my earliest videos of the top 10 things, the stupidest things people say to you when you're divorced. There's no shortage of those. So, I mean, you can apply that to, you know, anything really, the holidays or whatnot. But I mean, a few of those are just, you know, just like stupid things where people are just like, have you tried therapy? Because, you know, I hear that really helps. And you're like, therapy? What's that? Really?
I love
therapy. I love therapy too. Don't get me started on couples therapy. That's a whole other ballgame. But like, when the person at the grocery store finds out you're getting divorced and pulls you aside and says, have you tried therapy? You kind of want to like look at them and say like, have you tried night cream? Like, leave me alone. You kind of just want to get like nasty back in their faces. It's just like, back off. Or it's, you know, I had one aunt, it was amazing. This is like a very old school mentality, but it was, you know, Daniella, you're not the first woman to suffer in a bad marriage. You just stay. You just stick it out. And I'm like, thank God I had the wherewithal standing in the freezer section at No Frills to say, okay, and to hang up the phone and be like, that is the worst advice ever. Like, on the face of the earth, and wrong on so many levels.
Daniella, you just got a proposal on there.
Yes. Oh, from David Stephen. Maybe not so single after all.
So let's talk a little bit about holidays. And because I know we chatted for a few minutes before this, but you know, you were mentioning you go back and forth with
my kids
having your kids. Yeah. So I guess either way is difficult because either you're parenting alone or you're without your kids. So do you want to talk a little bit about your experiences?
So, and I mean, like you said, I remember the first year I didn't have my kids for Passover, the first half. And, you know, Passover is literally like the reason we do the whole Seder is for the kids. And they weren't there. And I was like, you know, you're like, what's the point of all this? Like, my kids aren't here. And I spent the entire second Seder, I think, crying in one of my parents' rooms upstairs. It was one of the only times I got a pass from my mom to join the holiday table in my pajamas. Like, I was given an exemption. It's like, okay, Daniella, this year you can come in pajamas. When you're more emotionally stable, you might have to upgrade to clothes, but this year we'll give you a pass. And it felt impossible. It felt impossible. And but then conversely, having my kids, I mean, I love it. And I love having them with me for the holidays. And I just, you know, my heart feels full and it feels like it's bursting and like it's the way it's supposed to be. But then at the same time, you're invited out or you're with family and it's hard. It's hard to see the families celebrating in that, you know, nuclear way that it's just not part of your reality anymore. And not that, you know, my reality today is better than what it was based on what it was and what it has to be. But sometimes it just kind of sucks that it's just never going to be like that. And, you know, that's part of it. Mourning, not just your divorce, but mourning what was and mourning what won't ever be again because of that. And, you know, out of that coming acceptance.
Yeah.
Really heavy for 9 o'clock on a Monday night.
Oh yeah. So yeah. And then I guess, but even when you do have them, it's, you know, there's different challenges when, you know, you're the.
Yeah. And one person just said here, like, Yocheved Newman, I always feel like I have to do something ostentatious or my son will feel like he's lacking, like when they're with us. And it's true, like this sense of like overcompensation when they're here for the holidays. So it's like, you know, like this year for Passover, I get my kids every other year. So I want them to have like an amazing experience when they're with me, but also balancing the fact that, you know, I'm their mother. I'm not hiring like the Ringling Brothers to act out the Seder, like at the table. Like it has to be normal, but just what that new normal is. And it's really hard to figure it out. It's really, you know, because at the same time, while you're trying to recover, you're trying to do it with your kids, and it's not easy.
Right. And, you know, I guess like our whole platform is all about, you know, breaking stigmas.
Yeah.
And, you know, and how is that with your kids? Like you had mentioned before when we were talking about, kind of like being real for your kids and how they kind of like how you handle things with your kids and
yeah. So I mean, at the blah blah blah. Sorry, I'm going to retract that. At the beginning of my divorce, it was very important to me not to associate it with shame in any way, because I knew that if I didn't want my children to associate it with shame, then I had to be that model for them. And I didn't want my kids to, you know, feel shame for decisions that their parents had made that ultimately impacts them, but they shouldn't walk around embarrassed that their parents are divorced. Like their parents made that choice. I mean, not independent of them, but I mean, independent of them in the fact that they didn't ask their opinion, nor should they. So I knew if I normalized it for myself, then it would be okay for my kids. And this would just be our new normal. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't suck sometimes, and it doesn't mean that, you know, it gets washed under the carpet. But at the same time, it's something that we discuss in the open. And if my kids saw me going to community events, they see me going to synagogue on Shabbat and the holidays, they see me out there like living my life and without shame, and that's a model for them to not have shame associated with that. And especially around the holidays when everything is family centric, and it's hard. So it doesn't mean that me or my kids are not sad to be with one another and we don't miss one another, but I guess, you know, there's an open place to discuss it. It makes my house sound like, you know, one big happy therapy session, as though like everyone doesn't scream and yell. Like I had, like in the spirit of being very real, like tonight I told my kids I have an interview at 9:00 that I need to be ready for. So tonight was the night that everybody lost their minds, and like one kid is in their bed, in my bed right now. Another kid is like crying off in a corner somewhere. Like tonight was the night everything went down.
It's always like that.
Always. So it's not the fact that like, you know, we're sitting around in the circle holding hands, all, you know, sharing like the talking stick or whatever it is, sharing our feelings, but the fact that, you know, the house becomes a safe place where we can share those things, you know, ideally without yelling
in
at
case
one another.
anyone wants to know, so in a few weeks, I think the week after Pesach, April 29th, Bruchi Moskowitz, she's on Instagram, so she's actually going to be talking about shame more. So in case anyone is interested, it's a really important topic, because I think a lot of people really like I used to confuse guilt and shame a lot.
Yes.
And, you know, kind of in the growth process, I really like learned to identify that there's a really big difference. And I know she mentioned on her stories, like, is there ever anything good that could come of shame? And like, no. And like, I really think the answer is no, because there's no point in feeling shame. Like, shame is an unhealthy thing when there's so many, like all of these normal human experiences, like divorce, like child loss, like addiction, like having desires, they're all very normal human things to feel, right?
Absolutely.
So there shouldn't be shame in them, and there shouldn't, and we have to raise our kids with like with like these are normal human experiences.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know, that's, the holidays are a big part of that, right? So it's people, you know, I've been in situations where people have said to me, you know, I've expressed, you know, it's hard, the holidays, or someone asked me, how's school going, Daniella? Because I went back to school, so I'm in school now. And I said, you know, it's tricky with 4 kids. It's, you know, there's a lot to juggle, but, you know, thankfully I really like it. And they looked at me and they're like, okay, but it's what you chose. So what, like, who cares? Like, why is it hard? And I'm just like, yeah, this is clearly not a safe emotional space. I'm going to back away a little bit. Oh, not the place to let my inner thoughts and fears out. I'm going to go with that one. But I was just like, you're trying to put that shame on me. You're trying to appropriate that shame on me. And it's like, no, I can make a choice. I can make a decision and still be sad about it without having shame associated with it. And like, that is a very big difference that changes the
You were younger, but that literally everyone, I can't think of anyone that I know who isn't going through something.
No, absolutely not.
So,
no. And it's not what we go through. It's, you know, it's how we handle it, right? So like, I've met people who have been through what, you know, if you wanted to judge them based on their traumas, you'd be like, yeah, it's about a 2. And they're like, you know, on the trauma scale, it's like not so bad. But they're like falling apart and they're a mess and they can't handle life and this and that. And then you meet people who've been like, I'm just like in awe of the fact that they get up and tie their shoelaces every day. I'm just like, how do you do that? And they are functioning. They are in, you know, to quote the shame master, Brene Brown herself, they are wholehearted living people. And like, they are doing it and they are owning it. So it's not so much our experiences, it's the way we own them and how we take them. And, you know, for the holidays, it's like, the holidays are going to happen whether we participate or not. Like, Seder is happening whether we join the table or not. It's just how we choose to be part of it, how we choose to be present, and how we choose, you know, to either ignore or yell at the stupid things people say to us about, you know, the holidays and whatnot. Like, the people are like, oh, it's amazing, you get a whole week off. I'm so jealous. I wish. I'm like, really, hon? You wish? You know what it comes at? It comes at a pretty high price. Like, this isn't like 1 week off and then I go back to like life being peachy keen with my husband and everybody all around. It's like, this is life. Like, you're asking for a break from life, but this is my life. So it's very, very different. And I feel that as divorce, it's, you know, everyone loves to say all the marriages end in 50% of all marriages end in divorce. So it's become normalized in a way. And this, the beginning of my blog, I found so interesting how divorce is everywhere. Like, everybody knows somebody who's been divorced, but nobody is talking about the feelings associated with it. It's like, it's normalized in the most superficial of way. It's like, yeah, okay, it's not so bad, it's divorce, everybody gets divorced. But like, you know, like, at the same token, like, and this, but not at all a means of comparison, but like, rates for breast cancer are up. So like, nobody would ever say, oh, you know, there's like 1 in 4 women have breast cancer, so just suck it up. Like, really, it's okay. Like, that's not the way we talk. And like, it's not about comparing pain or traumas. It's just about understanding them and like offering empathy to everyone for what they're going through. But I mean, most of the time we can't offer the empathy to ourselves. So how can we give it to others? That's really, we're going on a whole other planet here with this.
Well, it's a good one though. I mean,
it's a really good one. It's a really good planet, but it does require like the hazmat suits and everything. So Yeah.
So on the lines of, kind of, the dumb things people say. So either this is a really big family time
Right.
and, you're dealing with all different characters, or it's a lonely time, or it's a little bit of both. Like you could be in a room with like 40 people and you still feel pretty lonely.
Yeah.
We were talking about that. Um, and I think our take home, I mean, there's a bunch of take homes from here, but I really think that it's so important. I actually printed off, Sarah Hannah Radcliffe sends out a daily parenting email. And I printed off this morning. So I woke up this morning and I was like, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect for the live. And I wanted to read it. So basically on the lines of prepping for holidays with or without family, whatever it is, we got to like kind of predict it, or try to predict it. So I'm going to read it straight off. In the morning, while still lying in bed, imagine yourself handling a challenging family issue in the exact way you want to. Watch it like a movie, allowing it to replay several times. When the issue arises in the course of the day, follow your script and repeat tomorrow. So I know that there's definitely, you cannot predict everything that's going to happen because that's totally impossible. But you learn patterns with families and
I mean, so I think like the take that I would take with that is internalizing it and not making it so external. So not making the reactions necessarily based on what's going on around you, but based on yourself and figuring out a pattern that works for you. So I know for myself, if I'm entering, I mean, people are always shocked about this, but I'm social, I am out there, I am like Miss Extrovert, but I can get, when I'm in a big crowd for a long time, I guess a mild sense of like social anxiety. I just get overwhelmed, and it's like this need to like be on and like be funny and witty and charming all the time and everything, and it feels like a lot. And I need time to just take a step back, and I'll go to my room for half an hour. I'll take the time out that I need, or like, so on, like even before like a Seder, like taking the time that I need to refocus for me. I do a 10-minute YouTube meditation. Obviously like, whether you choose to on the holiday or not, whatever you do, just a way of like clearing your mind and just bringing yourself back to the present to be able to focus. Okay, let's what's going on here. And I think people don't like to say it like this maybe because the holidays are supposed to be this beautiful, happy time. But a lot of the time it's just about surviving it and getting through it. And if you can do that, like taking care of yourself, and you can do that, then maybe, the next year you can add a little bit more and you can actually enjoy it a little. But sometimes it's just a matter of just one foot in front of the other. It's just a matter of getting through it, and getting through it without any sort of huge upheaval. That's enough. That can be more than enough. And then, it looks different for everybody. I like what Ms. Radcliffe said. The only thing that I would amend to it is adding the sense of fluidity to it, that it's not this script that's static. It's something that can, go with whatever's happening. And the point is that you are in control of that you individually have the ownership and agency to make those decisions in the moment based on what you need. So being able to say, I remember one holiday, my family, I didn't have the kids, we were supposed to go out for a meal, and I was supposed to go with my parents and my sisters, and I said, I cannot do this. Oh no, actually that's not true. I was supposed to eat at a friend's house. And I couldn't do it. I emotionally could not do it. And I knew that doing it would put myself emotionally in harm's way. It was like a huge like aha moment. I was like, whoa, I have like Oprah Winfrey has taken over my body, because my head had became a light bulb. I was just like, what is going on? But I knew, I'm like, I have to create these boundaries, and I cannot go to this meal. And they will be disappointed, but their lives will go on. And it will be fine. But, I mean, I guess, you know, we want to give people a takeaway message. And it's finding what works for you and what works in the most healthy way for you to get through the holidays. Figuring that out. I mean, it's a very abstract concept, right? Like, what works for you? Like, I don't know. Like, elite kosher for chocolate Passover bars work for me. You know, but like sometimes might just be it. And sometimes that's okay. What? We cut out there for a second.
Oh.
Like, sometimes that's just enough, and sometimes it's just okay, and that's it. But
yeah, I remember one Pesach it was the first time we were ever going to go away, and we actually went away for Pesach, and I was so excited, and like I had all these plans, big plans, and like the kids were a disaster. I just remember like crying. It was so hard. It was like, oh my gosh. And they were all really little. And I just remember like feeling so disappointed. And then each year that went by, I realized, you know what? The less expectations that I have, the more exciting it's going to be. So this year I made my only plan. I mean, I do have a few plans, but my plan is that like nothing's going to go as planned.
Right.
I mean, that's the main part of my plan, but like I have like a big plan, but like I know that every single part of my plan might fail.
Right.
And that's so
okay.
liberating. So how do we deal with
how do we deal with Pesach? That's a pretty broad question. I'm not sure if he's looking for a food schedule, a cleaning outline, or
well, Pesach in dirt is not chametz. That's the first thing. So you could chill on that one.
No,
it's not time for spring cleaning. You could probably do your whole house in like an hour or two.
Yeah, and it's also not auditions for Top Chef. Like if we spend the entire Pesach with like matzah brie, cream cheese matzah and jam, and like matzah pizza or matzah lasagnas, that's fine. That's okay.
Mm-hmm. But
totally fine.
So one of the things that you mentioned when we were talking earlier is that is feeling lonely, whether you're in a crowd or whether you're not in a crowd, and the loneliness that's with that's in it. It could be in anybody for anything.
Yeah.
And would you be able to elaborate on that a little bit?
I mean,
that's a pretty practical. I think that was the thing that I told you I would remind you to talk about. but yeah, like the idea of, you know, kind of my notes were really not good.
No, I think it's just the idea of that anybody we all can experience the same emotion, and we can experience it differently, right? So the fact that I'm divorced and the second days I don't have my kids with me, I might experience loneliness, but I'm not alone in that loneliness, that other people feel the same way. And just because my circumstances look a certain way doesn't mean that like I necessarily own that emotion. And the beauty in that is that, you know, there's a lot of people and we all feel the same way. And it creates this platform for dialogue, for very open, honest, and authentic dialogue, where we can say, you know, I feel lonely, and it's okay. It's okay to feel lonely. It's not a source of shame, right? So the the man who's sitting at the table and he's single and he's not married and he's, dreaming every year of hosting his own Seder with, his wife and kids and everything. It's a sense of shame. Like, I should be married. I should be this. It should be, it's, people think I'm a nebuch and this and blah. And it's not, because would you look at me and say, divorced with 4 kids, what is she doing, blah, blah, blah? Would I look at the couple who's desperately trying to have a child and like berate them for that? It's like, no, we wouldn't do that to each other. So then it creates this beautiful space where we can just, feel and we can accept and we can be. But and this is a big part of my narrative throughout, like, my blog and everything. It's the individual ownership of that. So, I can only extend empathy to people as far as I can extend it to myself. And I can only be as compassionate with others as I can be with myself. And conversely, like, I remember being so unbearably hard on myself and judging myself. I mean, I still am very hard on myself, but like to the point where it was relentless. And extending that to other people, not being able to offer people that compassion because I couldn't offer it to myself. And, it's, if you really want to go another step further, it's really, Pesach, about us all being together, about us, being a nation and being free. And, I've written articles on this in the past, and, every year on Pesach, I think it's my dad and we get into this, not disagreement per se, but it's, we're free. And I'm always like, no, we're not free. We're enslaved to the economy, to consumerism, blah, 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 which is true. It is very true. But we're slaves to ourselves, to our own emotions. And it's, and this is the holiday of, freedom and it's this idea that you can be sitting in, Thornhill, New York, Montreal, Ottawa, wherever you are, anywhere, and 21st century, all the modern conveniences at your fingertips, and still feel enslaved by yourself, by the emotions that you hold yourself chained and handcuffed to. And you have that ability. It's in your hands, literally, whether you want to flip that narrative and you want to change it or not. And you want to see that the people that are around you and with you are experiencing what you're experiencing, and you're not alone in that. And there's empathy in that. There's a lack of shame in that. And there's acceptance in that. And that's
beautiful. I'm going to remember that one at the Seder. I'm going to share it.
I could say available for $5.99. But I have nothing to sell.
No, I love that. I didn't really, I mean, I must have thought about that at some point, but no, I really like,
I'm sure.
but yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
I'm just going to look at my notes and see if we're...
Absolutely.
If anyone has any questions, by the way.
Any more proposals? Maybe I won't be single for Pesach after all.
I know. For those that just joined, Daniella got proposed to at the beginning of the live. So she's not so single anymore. Although she didn't say yes, so...
That's true. There's still hope. There's still hope.
So yeah, so we went over, kind of acceptance of whatever suckiness is going on in your life, right? Because everyone's going through something. And we went through that, that you could be lonely, you could be married, single, or you could have kids, you could not have kids, but still feel lonely. And that's something that, you kind of have to, that's something that everyone kind of has to work out for themselves. Because you could be in a room with like a billion people, or you could be by yourself. And you can either feel lonely or not feel lonely, depending on your mindset, right?
Yeah. Very individual. I mean, because and this breaks my heart to even say, but there will be people, like married people, who will sit down at a Seder table and feel utterly lonely and alone. And it's like, you know, on the outside, it looks like there's everything there. And there's still, loneliness is it's an inside individual feeling. It's not so much what's going around you. It's how you feel inside. So that's how you can stand in a room full of 1,000 people and feel completely alone. You know?
Yeah. And then we also went through kind of getting empowered when, you know, when life throws these challenges your way, and basically your only choice is that you don't have a choice, but your only choice is to either feel empowered or broken, right? So we went through that, right? Did we go through that?
Yeah.
Or was that just in my notes?
I mean, I think it all fits part and parcel. It's how, I mean, the choice is in you, Rebecca. It's all the way we choose to deal with it, right? Honestly, right? I feel like I'm opening a fortune cookie. It's like all those obnoxious things, but like they're actually true, which is the more obnoxious part. It's like, oh, just wish you were wrong.
I know.
Fortune cookie.
Yoda's never wrong.
Yes, yeah, pretty much.
So does anyone have any questions?
Anyone? Bueller. Nada.
No?
That's it.
No,
We just answered all their questions.
I know. You just like saved the world in this one
conversation. Exactly. We should just like quit now. We're like done.
But anyways, I hope that everybody, this Pesach, we're actually, this is the first in our holiday series. Next week we have Nourishkeit, talking about healthy eating. We didn't really go over what we're talking about, but kind of just, you know. Hi, Erica. So we're going to be talking about kind of like healthy attitude towards food over the holidays, because we tend to either, you know, eat too much or not, you know, or starve ourselves and be all crazy, and like neither is. So I think it's I think her thing is Nourishkeit is, I think it's about intuitive eating. I'm not sure, but hopefully she will we'll fill you in on more. And then actually Rena Deutsch has agreed to talk. This is very brave, because like literally Erev Pesach, like just like a few days before Pesach, on you know, enough is enough, and you know, a little bit of you know, overcoming perfectionism. Hi, Rena, so excited. I'm obsessed with Rena too. I've been also wanting to get her on here for a while. She's amazing. Everyone read on Nashi magazine. Rena wrote the most beautiful article about 4 children. Everyone should look for the Pesach issue about, you know, her own spin on the 4 children. It was so inspirational, and I really recommend that everybody read it. So we have Rena, you know, kind of, you know, overcoming perfectionism. And then after, we're going to take a break for Pesach. And then after Pesach, we have Brochi Moskowitz on shame versus guilt. So that's our lineup right now. Oh, look who's talking. Oh, my article. Oh, yeah, my article too. Yeah, everyone could read my article too. But Rena's was like outstanding. Rena, so nice.
Thank you very much, Rena. Rebecca, before we wrap up, I just want to say one thing, that for anybody who is watching, or anybody once this is saved and reposted, that as you mentioned before, that neither of us are mental health professionals, and if anybody's feeling that the feelings, the emotions they have are beyond the scope of what we're talking about, that they should feel free to reach out to either of us, and we can help get them the help that they actually need beyond what we're offering right here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and that there obviously is not obviously, but there is no shame associated with that. And either of us, I'm sure you, but would be more than willing to help with that in any capacity. And that this
Yeah.
is not a substitute for that at all.
No. And there's some incredible Insta therapists out there for all different topics. And I
Exactly.
mean,
So
I'm not going to say who my favorites are, even though I mentioned a few of them, but um,
yeah.
but they're, you know, they obviously can't do therapy on Instagram, but they can
Right.
give some really great advice and point you in the right direction. Like, you know, I think that we pretty much on